Across the vast rice paddies of southern China, something unexpected is happening right now. Thousands upon thousands of ducks are being herded directly into the middle of flooded rice fields, not into pens, not onto dry land, but straight into the water, where young rice plants are still vulnerable, still developing their root systems. To an outsider, it looks chaotic, maybe even reckless. These are fields that have been cultivated with precision, treated with fertilizers, managed down to the last detail, and now entire flocks of birds are paddling through them, stirring up the water, trampling the edges, disturbing everything. You would think this is a mistake, a gamble that could destroy months of careful work. But this isn't an accident. It's a deliberate strategy, and it's one that challenges almost everything. Modern agriculture has been built on for the past 50 years. China, like much of the world, has relied heavily on industrial farming methods to feed its enormous population chemical fertilizers, boosted yields, pesticides controlled insects, herbicides wiped out weeds. The results were undeniable. Food production soared, famines became rare. The Green Revolution seemed to prove that technology and chemistry were the only paths forward. But those gains came with hidden costs. Soil across millions of acres began to lose its natural fertility. The microorganisms that once kept the earth alive were killed off by repeated chemical applications. Water sources became polluted with runoff, carrying nitrogen, phosphorus, and toxic residues that seeped into rivers and groundwater. The land itself started to weaken, requiring higher doses of chemicals, each season just to produce the same results. Farmers found themselves trapped in a cycle, spend more to grow the same amount year after year, with no end in sight. By some estimates, more than 40% of China's agricultural land has been degraded by decades of intensive chemical use. The soil no longer functions the way it once did. It doesn't hold water as well. It doesn't support the web of life that used to exist beneath the surface. It has become dependent entirely, reliant on external inputs to produce anything at all. And rice fields, some of the most important farmland in the country, were among the hardest. Hit rice isn't just another crop. It's the foundation of food security for over half the world's population. When rice ecosystems break down, the consequences reach far beyond individual farms. They threaten entire communities, entire nations. So when Chinese agricultural researchers began looking for solutions, they didn't turn to new chemicals or genetically modified seeds. They turned to something older, something that had been working quietly in small pockets of rural Asia for centuries. They turned to ducks. The idea sounds almost too simple to be real. Let ducks loose in rice fields and let them do what ducks naturally do: eat insects, stir the water, fertilize the soil. It feels more like folklore than science, yet this practice has roots that go back more than 600 years in parts of southern China. Japan, Vietnam, and Thailand, farmers have known for generations that ducks and rice can coexist. Not just coexist, but help each other thrive. The ducks don't damage the rice plants, they ignore them. Instead, they go after everything else: the pests, the weeds, the algae, the things that slow rice growth and drain nutrients from the system. It was a form of farming that required no pesticides, no herbicides, and very little fertilizer, because the ducks provided all of that naturally through their behavior, through their presence in the field. When modern researchers revisited this ancient method, they began to see it differently, not as a relic of the past, but as a model for regenerative agriculture, a system where the farm itself does the work, where biology replaces chemistry, where the ecosystem is restored instead of depleted. They started conducting trials, measuring results, comparing chemical rice fields to rice duck fields, and what they found was remarkable. Within just one growing season, fields that had been heavily degraded by years of pesticide use began to recover. Pest populations dropped dramatically, not because they were poisoned, but because they were eaten weeds that used to require multiple herbicide applications, were controlled naturally by ducks that fed on young shoots before they could take root. Soil quality improved as duck droppings rich in nitrogen and organic matter were distributed evenly across the field, acting as a slow-release fertilizer that fed both the rice plants and the microorganisms in the soil. The timing of when ducks are introduced matters more than most people realize. Release them too early, and the rice seedlings are too fragile. They can be trampled or uprooted by the constant paddling and movement of the flock. Release them too late, and the pests and weeds have already taken hold. Reducing the biological impact the ducks can provide, the ideal window is usually 2 to 3 weeks. After transplanting, when the rice plants have established their root systems and can withstand the disturbance, that's when the ducks enter the field. And from that moment on, they work non-stop, moving through the water day after day, stirring the surface, eating insects, disrupting weed growth, and spreading nutrients with every step they take. Pest control in a rice duck system doesn't rely on chemicals. It relies on hunger. Ducks are natural foragers, and rice fields are full of food. Brown plant hoppers, leaf hoppers, stem borers, aquatic insects, mosquito larvae. All of these become targets. The flock moves constantly through the paddies, hunting anything that moves, feeding on anything soft enough to swallow their presence alone, disrupts the life cycles of many pests, preventing outbreaks before they can start. Studies have shown that insect populations in rice duck fields are 30 to 50% lower than in conventional fields without a single drop of pesticide being used. This isn't just about saving money, it's about breaking the cycle of chemical dependence that has trapped so many farmers in debt and environmental damage. Weeds face a similar fate in traditional rice farming. Weeds are one of the biggest challenges. They grow fast, they compete directly with rice for nutrients, and they spread aggressively if left unchecked. Farmers typically respond with herbicides, sometimes multiple applications per season. But in rice duck fields, the ducks handle much of the problem themselves. They eat young weed shoots before they can mature. They uproot barnyard grass, duckweed, and wild rice. They disturb the soil surface just enough to prevent weed seeds from germinating. This constant low-level disruption keeps weed pressure manageable without the need for chemical intervention. And unlike herbicides, which kill indiscriminately, the ducks target only what's actively growing, leaving the rice plants largely untouched. What makes this system even more effective is the unintended benefit of aeration. As ducks paddle through the shallow water, they stir the top layer of mud, introducing oxygen into the soil. This breaks up anaerobic conditions, reduces compaction, and allows rice roots to grow deeper and stronger. It's a form of natural tilling that happens continuously throughout the day, and it improves soil structure in ways that machinery and chemicals never could. Farmers who have adopted this method report that their rice plants look healthier, stand taller, and show greater resistance to disease, even without the use of fungicides or growth regulators. The biological health of the field improves simply because the system is allowed to function as a living ecosystem rather than a sterile production zone. The economic case for rice duck farming is just as compelling as the ecological one. Pesticide costs in these systems drop by 50 to 70%. Fertilizer costs fall by 20 to 40%. For small-scale farmers operating on tight margins, these savings can mean the difference between profit and loss, between staying on the land and being forced to leave. But the financial benefits don't stop with lower input costs. The rice itself becomes more valuable. Consumers in China, Japan, and other Asian markets are increasingly willing to pay premium prices for rice grown without heavy chemical use. Rice from duck-integrated farms often sells for 10 to 30% more than conventional rice because it carries certifications like ecological rice or low-input rice that signal safety and sustainability to buyers who care about what they're eating. Then there are the ducks themselves at the end of the growing season. The flock that spent months moving through the rice fields has gained weight feeding on natural food sources with minimal need for commercial feed. These ducks are sold as meat or raised further for egg production, creating a second income stream entirely separate from rice. Sales, in many cases revenue from the ducks, is enough to cover a significant portion of the rice production costs, turning the system into a diversified farming model that spreads risk and increases resilience. This dual income structure is one reason why more and more farmers are willing to try the method even in regions where chemical farming has been the norm for decades. What happens to the land itself may be the most important outcome of all. As chemicals are withdrawn from the system, the rice fields begin to change. Water clarity improves algae blooms, decrease the smell of stagnant decay fades away. Creatures that were once driven out by pesticides start to return. Frogs reappear in the paddies, dragonflies hover above the water, small fish dart through the shallows. Beneficial insects that prey on pests begin to rebuild their populations. The rice field stops functioning like a factory floor and starts behaving like a wetland ecosystem, again rich, diverse, and capable of sustaining itself over the long term. Even more striking are the effects on greenhouse gas emissions. Rice paddies are one of the largest sources of methane, a potent greenhouse gas produced when organic matter decomposes in flooded oxygen. Poor conditions, conventional rice farming with its heavy use of fertilizers and stagnant water management creates ideal conditions for methane production. But in rice duck systems, the constant movement of the ducks disrupts those anaerobic conditions, allowing oxygen to reach the soil and reducing methane emissions by an estimated 20 to 30%. This means that rice duck farming isn't just less harmful, it's actively contributing to climate mitigation, turning rice fields from carbon sources into something closer to carbon-neutral systems. Despite all these advantages, the rice duck model is not without its challenges. It requires knowledge, precision, and constant attention. Farmers need to know when to release the ducks, how many to use per hectare, how to manage water levels, and when to remove them before the rice enters its flowering stage, even small. Mistakes can lead to problems. Too many ducks can cloud the water and stress the plants. Too few ducks won't provide enough pest control. Releasing them at the wrong time can damage seedlings or fail to suppress weeds effectively. This is not a system that can be automated or simplified. It demands skill observation and a willingness to work with nature rather than against it. There are also practical risks that can't be ignored. Predators are a constant threat. Snakes, foxes, feral dogs, and birds of prey can wipe out large portions of a duck flock in just a few nights if proper protection isn't in place. In areas with limited labor or weak infrastructure, managing these risks becomes difficult, sometimes impossible. The system also depends on having access to clean water. stable irrigation, and relatively flat terrain regions that have been severely polluted, or where water is scarce, may not be able to support rice, duck farming at all. This highlights an important truth. The model is not a universal solution. It works best in specific contexts where conditions align and where farmers have the capacity and support to implement it correctly. Yet even with these limitations, the rice duck method is spreading slowly but steadily across China and into neighboring countries. More than 200,000 hectares of rice paddies in China alone are now using some form of duck integration. Government programs are providing subsidies and training to encourage adoption. Research institutions are refining the model, testing new duck breeds, adjusting stocking densities, and developing best practice guidelines for different regions and climates. The momentum is building not because this is a miracle cure, but because it represents a viable alternative to the chemical treadmill that has dominated agriculture for so long. What makes this shift significant is that it challenges the core assumptions of industrial farming for decades. The story has been that feeding the world requires more chemicals, more machinery, more control over nature, but rice duck farming tells a different story. It shows that biological systems, when understood and managed well, can be just as productive and far more sustainable than chemical-intensive methods. It proves that old knowledge isn't obsolete. It's adaptable. It can be refined, improved, and scaled up to meet modern challenges without sacrificing the health of the land or the people who depend on it. In the end, the story of ducks and rice is about more than farming. It's about recognizing that nature already has solutions built into it, systems that have been tested over centuries, that work with life instead of against it. As the world grapples with soil, degradation, water pollution, and climate change, these principles become more relevant, not less. The future of agriculture may not lie in laboratories or chemical plants. It may lie in understanding how ecosystems function and designing farms that operate within those natural boundaries rather than trying to override them. And if a simple flock of ducks paddling through a rice field can help restore land that was thought to be ruined, then perhaps the answers we've been searching for have been right in front of us all along, waiting to be rediscovered.